So now we're going to talk about how to test our water to make sure that it's usable and that our system is operating properly. This is called a TDS meter, and all this does is it measures the amount of particles that are floating around in a volume of water. It works really simply. You just turn it on, you'll see there's a little readout there. Right now it's saying 0. It's not testing any water, so there's no particulate that it's sensing. Usually comes with a little cup. So we can grab some of our product water here, and we just drop this down in there, and you'll see it's reading out 5. So that tells us there's 5 parts per million of particulate in this product water here, which is good enough to work. A good rule of thumb is anything around 10 or below is probably going to give you spot-free results. Now, interestingly, if we were to go over to our wastewater and test this, let's see what we get. So again, we're at 0. Now we're at 111. So we can see that this system is doing the job of taking all those parts per million and reducing them down to 5 so that we have good working product water here. So this is something you always want to do before you start a job. Test your product water and make sure that it's at 10 or below. If it's not, then there's either something wrong with the system or it's just time to change the resin, which we'll get into next. Now, if you find that your ppm on your product water has risen up above 10 or so, most likely it's time to just change your deionization resin. It could indicate that there's something going on with the system here. There might be a leak, or your RO membrane might be worn out. In that case, the whole system needs some maintenance. But in general, you're just going to replace the DI resin. So inside this blue chamber here is going to be a refillable cartridge that looks sort of like this. Now this is for a different size chamber, but the principle's the same. Basically, this is similar to this kind of filter over here, where water passes through it. But you'll notice inside, these all have lids that can pop off. It might look a little different than this, but again, principle's the same. And it's going to be filled with this product here. It feels like little plastic beads. And this is deionization resin. So when this stuff gets worn out, after a time, you dump this out. You're going to fill this back up with new resin. You want to pack it down nice and tight. One way to do that is to just kind of give it a tap like that, and you'll see that it kind of settles down a little bit. Get it packed nice and tight. Put your lid back on. Get it put back in here with the chamber put back on, and allow water to run through it for a few minutes, and then test your water again. You should see that it's dropped back down to 0. Now, a couple of things to think about. Make sure the tighter you get this packed, the more efficient this is going to be. So you want to make sure that you do that. And then also, you'll notice most of these chambers have an arrow, and they indicate which way this should be positioned inside the chamber so that the water is flowing properly through this filter. So you do need to pay attention to that. And in a lot of cases, these are mounted upside down, but in other cases, depending on the cart, they might be mounted right side up. So in this case, this end up, it says. So up is actually pointing down on this particular cart, but on other carts it might be reversed. So just pay attention to the flow arrow. This is top, even if it's facing down, and make sure that you put these in the correct way. Otherwise, the system's not going to function properly.